I coming home from the boys club one time, and it was all my fault. I needed to tie my shoelace or something silly, and I must have been about 11 years old then. It was about the time I was getting interested in the Boy Scouts, and I was going down on Scott Street, southbound on Scott Street, and when I came around the corner, just before I came around the corner, I decided to tie my shoelace, so I put my right foot up on the handlebars. Now you got a picture. Here's a kid about 11 years old. He's on a bicycle, and he has put 3 million miles on that bicycle, and just about wore it out. So it wasn't any trick for me to put my foot up there to tie my shoelace as I was going around the corner, because to go around, all you had to go lean like that, not bicycle, go around the corner. Well, whoops, when I ran there was a line of parked cars. Traffic had happened and something, and the lane I was in, there was a parked car, and I hit that car right on the bumper, and I was in kind of a strange position to take an accident, a frontal accident. But I went up on the back of that car. Back in those days, they didn't have a sloping back like today. They had kind of a trunk, literally old trunk. And I went up on that trunk, came down on something. And I always thought it might have been the license plate, or it might have been my bicycle, the post up there that in the middle that holds the handlebars. I might have hit that. But whatever I hit with a very sensitive part of my anatomy. Well, it broke the fork off my front wheel. Broke that fork off up in the frame where the fork goes through the frame with the handlebars on top and the fork down below. Well, it broke it in there, and my wheel came off. Well, the lady that was driving the car, she got out. She's scared to death, I guess she didn't know if I was hurt. No, I'm all right. I wasn't all right. But all I wanted to do was get out of there before somebody figured out that I was screwing up by coming around I wasn't really riding my bicycle right when I hit her. I didn't have any feet on the pedal so I could hit the brakes. Well, there was enough of that fork post left that I jammed it up in there, not connected to my handlebars anymore, but I could ride the bicycle without the hands on the handlebars. And I pedaled out of there as quick as I could, and I got about 4 blocks, and I was hurting worse all the time, right down there at this sensitive part of my anatomy, that down below the belt line, and it was hurting worse and worse, and I saw a friend, and to this day I don't remember the kid's name, but I pulled over the curb right there by Kemp Public Library, and I had to take a little break. I was hurting so bad, and he said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well, I had an accident." And he said, "You did?" And I said, "Yeah, I broke my bicycle." At the time, I thought that was the worst thing that happened, is I broke my bicycle, and that was my transportation. And about that time, he said, "Well, where'd you hurt yourself?" And I looked down, and there was a big blood spot right down there by my fly, and it was spreading all down my leg. Oh, I saw blood. Yeah, I saw blood, and now I'm really hurting. Hurts a lot worse when it's bleeding, And I pedaled on home about another 6 blocks or so. Got to home, and I had to tell Mom she saw my blood, and she throwed me in the car and took me up there at the clinic. Didn't fool Dr. Holland. No, she went to the emergency room of the clinic, and some old doctor there was, I don't know, he was, if Dr. Holland was rough, then this guy made Dr. Holland look like a pansy. Of course, he pulled my britches down, and sure enough, I was wounded. And one of my, the only one of them that I had was nearly cut off. It was hanging by a thread. And when my mother saw that, she took a big gasp, and she's probably thinking way down the line. And doctor, he just got at his needle and thread, and he started sewing it up. And when he put that first needle through there and drew it through like he was stitching up a baseball, my mama fainted. I would have liked to have fainted. I would have loved to have fainted. But the doctor, he took about a half a dozen stitches in there and got it sewed back on, and dabbed a little, whatever they dab on there, and put a bandage on it, kind of a gauze bandage, sort of, but there wasn't much way he could bandage it, there wasn't, he couldn't, I don't know, maybe he needed a sling, but no, he didn't have that. So anyway, that was a great incident. That was a great bicycle wreck incident. And let me tell you, the kids in the neighborhood would pay a nickel. Finally, I got up to a quarter just to see. Pretty good deal. Some of the best money I made was right then. For a quarter, you can see it. And, well, I got a little off Dr. Holland, and I never did know what that old doctor was in the emergency room, but he was rough, tough, and guff, and he just, never mind all that stuff, just sew this thing back on and be out of here. And that's about the way it was. It was not as bad taking the stitches out. But at the times I've been sewed up, I always dreaded taking out the stitches. I sure was glad when I found out they're making stitches now that dissolve. Yeah, don't have to take them out. They dissolve. And so if I ever have to get stitched up, I'm asking for that kind of stitches that dissolve so they won't have to be taken out. And that's about the size of that.